Hello, everybody. Ryan Carpenter here with No BS Golf, presented to you by P45 Knuckle Down Golf. That's right, your number one destination for golf in Central Georgia. Hey, you know what? We got a heck of a day going on today. I got a couple of pals coming in. That's right. You're not going to just listen to me. In fact, you ain't going to listen to me at all. I'm going to have them talk. We're going to talk to a couple of players that have been with me for a while and been through the process for quite a long time and have made it through some different, beginning to phase one, phase two, and so on and so forth. But we're really going to give you an opportunity to just listen to them and have me shut my big trap for a while. So I'm going to bring them in and introduce them, and we're going to have a little discussion about what they've been through. They're going to talk to you about their experience and what they've kind of felt and thought throughout the way. And hopefully that will help maybe some of y'all that are maybe thinking about it, but not sure if you're ready to dive in, maybe come down and have a conversation with me at some point. And you're welcome, like always. Leave me comments. Go to the internet, all the Twitter and Instagram and all the stuff. You want to reach out, you let me know. We'll have a discussion. We'll do a free meeting down at the pub if you want to, whatever. But maybe this will give you a different perspective. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring my guys in here. We got Colten and we got Cole here today. Welcome, fellas. I'm gonna let you guys talk here in a minute. We're gonna get started with kind of basics, just how do we kind of all meet and how this gets started. And then I'll kind of start to take it from there and ask you some questions you all be able to answer. But thanks for doing this. I appreciate it. I know a lot of people, if they watch it, they're going to get a whole heck of a lot out of this because, they can listen to me all day long. But at some point they go, man, I hear this guy all the time. Shut up. So now you guys get to be the stars. So I'm appreciative of y'all doing this today. I appreciate it. How y'all doing today?
Doing good, man. What's going on, Ryan?
Doing great.
Just doing my normal thing. Taught all morning. Now I'm doing this, and I got to get ready for. I got literally 12 hours of lessons scheduled for tomorrow. So, just living the dream as we call it.
Man, that's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah. So let's start right there. Like I don't remember. I think I remember, but I don't want to again my words versus yours. How do we all meet, and how did this all really come together and get started?
So it's actually kind of funny because I grew up and lived in Texas my whole life. Just moved to Georgia about a year ago. So Cole's actually my brother-in-law. So we moved out there to be next to him, my wife's brother. And we moved onto a golf course, and I started like playing golf about once every year or two when I was in college. Like I maybe wouldn't even pull my clubs out every year, but since we moved onto the course, I wanted to start playing. And so I found the golf pub down in Warner Robins, and me and Cole went out there one morning. I think it was a Saturday morning because our tee time got rained out. So it was a rainy morning. We wanted to play anyway, so we went to the pub, and you were there practicing, just hitting shots like you do. And then we were like, oh, hey, let's see if this guy can like swing with us for an hour and give us some tips. And we went up and talked to you about it, and you were like, oh, that's not really the way this works. Like I could maybe give you something today that would fix you for 5 minutes, but when you come back out next week, if you're not going through the program, you're gonna you're not gonna get the goals that you want. So you explained that to us like right off the bat, and that kind of we were a little disappointed. Went to our bay, hit some balls, did terrible, like we always do. Yeah, and then I reached out to you because I wanted to actually learn how to play. I've never actually played golf the real way. And then I'll let Cole tell you about how he kind of fell into this.
Yeah, so when we were down there at the pub, I remember after we talked to you, we left, and me and Colton like texted back and forth. And then he mentioned, he was like, yeah, man, I'm going to reach out to that Ryan guy at the pub and, see about taking some lessons with him. My first thought was like, I mean, this is a guy in a bar pub. I was like, I don't know how serious this can be. So my first thought was like, yeah, man, you should. And then after your lesson, like, I'll come over there and just tell me what he told you, and I'll kind of, piggyback off of it and see how it goes. And I think you took 3 or 4 lessons, and we had talked afterwards, and he'd tell me what he was doing. And I'd go over there and swing some, and I'm like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. And then after a little bit, I saw his swing start to change. And I was like, well, man, I kind of want to get a little better because I played a lot. Like when I was a kid growing up from Augusta, I mean, everybody played golf. And got to be a teenager. My mind got focused on other things than playing golf anymore. So I probably played 2-3 times from the time I was 16 until when he moved here and we started playing again. And so, yeah, and then I reached out, got hooked up with Ryan and got started on it. And it's been an adventure, a lot of learning curves and a whole side of golf that, I didn't even know existed. The thought of like when we originally talked to you, Ryan, we were like, hey, we'll get a few tips. My thought was like, yeah, you take a few lessons and, get some stuff straightened out and boom, I'm shooting in the 80s. And it wasn't but a couple lessons in, I realized like it's a lot more work when you see somebody who's really good at golf. Like they've put in some serious hours to get there. The improvements we see are this much, little by little by little. And it's been a lot of fun. Anxious to keep going, keep getting better. Just had a record 9, so that was awesome. In our playing season started.
Nice. Yeah, I think from what I recall, I think I was actually given a lesson that day, if I remember correctly. And because I remember Connor come over and said, I think there's a couple of guys want to come down and talk to you. I said, that's fine, come on down. But I think you guys were looking to do the eval that day, even maybe. And I didn't have enough time to complete it. But yeah, that's and that's how I'd say it's oddly strange enough that, especially in a new territory like this, like back in KC, whole different ballgame where I'd been teaching for a long time, but it's usually the accidentals that end up becoming some of the best, players I work with, where you just randomly collide and bam, it goes from there. And so, it's but you were right. I get all the time, come here and teach me, show me something, tell me something. I say, I can tell you something all day long. You ain't gonna learn how to do it, first of all, and second of all, if you try, you're probably gonna get worse. So what the hell's the point in doing that? So, and it's because for the same reason, and it's why I tried to promote the evaluation as much as I can, because you got to have the full entire scope. And so that takes us to the next thing. Go back to day one when y'all finally decided to do it and come in the bay. Like you said, you thought maybe this, you thought maybe that. And by the time we got, from the start of the evaluation and what you thought you were walking into versus what you actually ended up thinking at the end of that evaluation, Colten, what would you say?
So I think actually from the first conversation that we had in the pub, where you told us like, no, I can't help you in this hour that you have right now. I think from that moment, I could tell that something was going to be good about this. Just because, I know that nothing comes for free, right? I'd played enough golf to know that it wasn't going to be a simple tweak to change it. That didn't prevent me from trying those simple tweaks whenever I saw them on Instagram, YouTube, and whatnot. I would still try that, but like I knew that it wasn't going to be just, oh yeah, just move your hips more, twist your hips more, and then you'll be good. And actually, that was one of the things I told you in the evaluation lesson. It's like, yeah, like I think I finally figured it out. Like my driver is going straighter because I'm trying to shut the door with my hips more. Like just doing that harder, and it's straightening out my slice. And then as you kind of talked me through, well, okay, you're coming down super steep. You're cutting across the ball. That's why you're always slicing. And once you actually explained a little bit of the mechanics of the swing in the first lesson, like I could tell that it was going to be a long process, and I could tell that I was at the right spot with somebody that could, actually take me through that.
Nice. Nice. How about you, Cole? Coming in day one, you had all these ideas and thoughts, and maybe if I learn this, I'm gonna be Tiger Woods tomorrow. But what it ended up being towards the end?
Yeah. So prior to coming in, I actually went. There was a trainer at the club I'm a member at, and I went out there and had a half-hour lesson with him. We went through that, and I kind of left feeling like nothing really happened. And because I mean that was a lot closer. I mean, coming down to you, for me, I mean it's like a hour and 15 to drive down. And so kind of after that, I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna give it a shot. And so we come down, did the eval, and I walked in thinking like, my swing's pretty solid already. This shouldn't take too long because we had hit it the bay. Like I could see my end to out was into out, and I'd always heard like that's what you want. And so I was like, okay, well then after we, did the eval, got some video of the swing, and he started doing a breakdown of like, okay, here's what I'm seeing, here's where we would start, kind of going through that. I realized like how off all of the mechanics were, that I'd figured out how to compensate and get that into out, but it was the wrong way. And like, there was a lot more going on in my swing than I thought walking in the door. And then, you were straight up that, hey, this is what we can do. But, if you want to do this, no, it's not going to be fast. We're going to have probably, I think you told me 6 months. He was like, you really don't need to hit a course for 6 months. He's like, we need to be in here in the lab. I think it's what you told me in the beginning. And I was just kind of made the decision. I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to do it, I just need to stick to it and just get through this to improve. And, ended up, I think I got I don't remember what package I bought, but, bought a package of lessons and was like, all right, I'm going to dedicate 1 day a week. We're doing this. And yeah, coming in, starting from the start, checking out the grip, getting the setup right, and just how much there was to correct. And every little step, like that first lesson was the setup. Then it's like, all right, now go home and practice it. And realizing between each lesson, like whatever we had talked about that week, like how much I would have to do that at home, to where when I went back, I wasn't having to think about that and the next step you're telling me. And like the amount of repetitions and stuff. But it was a little eye opener that it was such a big undertaking to really get your swing down right and see some real improvements, not a 5-minute band-aid off of YouTube that Colten touched on of, all right, yeah, move your hips or whatever, do this, twist your grip a little more, and boom, look, straight drive, now you're done. And so yeah, it was cool to hear that you were just honest of like, hey, if you want to do this, this is what it is, and if not, hey, that's cool too. Go out, have fun, but this is what I can offer. So yeah, it was.
Yeah, and it's based off experience and years of doing it and a whole lot of reasons. But yeah, it does tend to be, which is the purpose of it. It becomes kind of like you said, an eye opener, and it's meant to design and elicit some thoughts and some feelings and some, do I want to do or do I not want to do? And if I do want to do, what do I got to think about's realistic? And I use base numbers because you don't know with anybody, for everyone else out there listening, it's 6 months or 3 months or whatever it is. It's just, there's a time and a place for everything. And sometimes you got to get away from the golf course for a little while and put in a little time. And then when it's time to go back out, we go back out. Whatever that number is what it is. I use some base numbers just so that I never want to, over promise to anybody. That's the biggest key. And so I'd rather be a little like, it's going to be a year or so or something like that. And if it's under that, great. And if it's not, then we're right on schedule. So, and that's the thing too. You all can go out and look. It's probably going to be printed in the House and Home Journal, but I did put it out there in some other spaces too. And I talked about the story of the 3 players that all had the same ball flights, but they aim different and they all swing all 3 differently. And that's the thing. Like, how do you get an I to O, an in to out number? Well, there's lots of ways to do it. And then there's one optimal way to do it. And so that was part of yours. And that's the thing. Everybody has their own custom evaluation. It's not the same. I'm using the same factual based information to break down the golf swing and all that kind of good stuff. But everybody has their own little uniquenesses of how they're trying to get there. And that's why it's so important. You got to find out for yourself what your specific things are versus, everybody else out there. And so let's go from there. So that was obviously the eye opener, and it changed your perspectives and got you thinking differently, and which is good because then we had a chance to actually do something about it. So let's kind of fast forward to now and do more of a look back to where we are at this stage. While we may not be complete, and I mean, honestly, nobody is. Tour pros have coaches, for crying out loud. But Colten, compared to what day one was and where you are today, you and I know where you're at. We know what we're working on. We ain't done. But what would you say? We're about, I don't have the numbers in front of me. You might be, 7 months in? I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
What would you say you think? Give your description, everybody. Let's just say that.
Yeah. So I am at the point where I can hit the swing. A good shot. That's kind of what the initial goal was, walking in, was to be able to hit a straight shot. I always played in the next fairway or two to the right. It was bad. And now I can actually, if I miss, it's pretty much still playable. Or if, so my home course has a lot of trees lining the fairways. If I hit into the trees, it's right there at the edge, so I can still get to it. It's kind of rare now that I hit balls so far into the woods that I don't know where they went. So I can hit the shot. It's right now my focus is just all about consistency, which it's funny because I was thinking about this morning when I played. I was like, man, I just wish I could be more consistent. And the line that you always say about well, okay, so you want to be on the PJ Tour, because that's what consistency means. If you're really hitting every shot right, tour players don't even do that. So yeah, that's kind of, but I've got a long way before I even have to worry about if I'm going to join the tour or not. So that wasn't a joke, Cole. Don't laugh. But yeah, it's just, I can do it. It's just getting consistent with it, ironing out those mistakes throughout the round. And then also, surprisingly enough, I'm at the point where it's kind of a mental game now. If I can do the swing, if I focus on it, if I do all these things right, I can do it. It's just a matter of having the mental discipline now of focusing on every single shot and not overthinking every single shot, right? So getting into your natural swing rhythm, don't overanalyze it, but focus on making contact. That's really where my game's at now, and it's a lot more enjoyable, I'll say. Being able to hit shots, hitting a green is a great feeling, and I'd never felt that from 150 yards away. But now whenever it does happen, I get so excited. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. And that whole tour pro thing, and we just saw again today. Old crazy, I don't know how many of y'all follow the tour, but old crazy Hadwin, some say his wife is crazier than him. He hit a dang shot, and then he took his club and he slammed it into a damn sprinkler head, and it went spraying everywhere in the middle of the fairway. Tour pros miss golf shots. I don't know how many people, they got this thing, they think they're all perfect. It ain't true. You're right. And so that's exactly right. We're at the stage where we're simplifying it, because we know you're now much more capable than you truly were in the beginning.
Yeah.
And we're trying to narrow it down to more of a, how do you turn the switch on and off, which is golf in general. And not everybody can do it all the time, just the way it is. But yeah, simplify it and put it into action more repeatedly without having to overthink. And because of that, starting to see at least some of the results finally. And it's a process. It's the stock market. I say, down, down, go up a little, down, get up. But over the course of 12 months, it's wow, we gained 20%. All right. So yeah, that's exactly right. And it's hard to put that image ahead on day one to where you're going to understand and see that, right?
Yep.
You didn't really have that vision of how that was going to play out, right? So, so that's good. No, that's the hardest part I think about all is it's you're exactly where you're supposed to be, and that's what sucks, because we never really attain what we want because it's almost impossible to get perfect. And so that's right. You're right about where you're supposed to be, which is just the reality to it. And that's another thing before I let Cole goes into his version, is that nobody has 8 hours a day, 5 days a week to work on their golf game.
Right.
It's that factor alone. That's why it takes that kind. That's why I don't overpromise. Hey, in 2 weeks you're going to be Tiger Woods. Well, no, you're not, because you got like an hour a week barely to even do nothing. So it's going to take some time. So Cole, I'm going to close the door. The kids are home. Same thing. Going back to day one versus where you're at now, and kind of, give us your description of kind of where you feel like, what's happened and where you're at.
Yeah. So similar to Colten's story. Where do you go? Oh, shutting the door. Yeah, similar to his story. I come in, and I think my initial goal was I want to quit going into my pocket. Like when I'm playing, I just want to keep a ball in play. If I can eliminate penalty strokes, that would go a long way in bringing my score down. And like where we're at now, I've gotten there the last, 4 or 5 rounds I played. I think I've lost maybe 1 or 2 balls by, chunking one in a creek or something, but like slicing one out over in the woods, stuff like that. Not very common now. It still happens, but like Colten said, again, like if it does, it's not super deep. I can walk back there, get it, punch it out, take my medicine, just get back advancing the ball down towards the green. I've with the eye opener of how the slow progression is now, like he said, getting out of your head, I have to work on, realizing that when I hit one of those shots and I don't hit it perfect, I catch it heavy or I catch it thin or whatever, that that's just where I'm at right now. Like my skill level, I'm not going to get perfect clean contact with a beautiful baby draw, right up there where I'm intending it to go. Honestly, right now, if I hit it 25% of the time, I'm doing great, and realize getting that in my head and stopping myself from getting frustrated when I'm like, all right, I got an 80-yard shot and I grab my 56 and then I scoop under it and it goes 40 yards. Just wrong. Like, hey, it happens. Let's advance up. Let's do it again. And it's happening less and less. And the biggest thing right now is, hey, let's get clean contact. If I don't have a perfect draw on it, whatever, and kind of being able to forgive myself out on the course and not, like you said, slam my club into a sprinkler head. Thankfully, I haven't slammed a club or thrown one in a while. So, and yeah, just kind of embracing the slow progression. We put as much time as we can into it, but Colten and myself both, we've got 3 kids, we've got a family life, full-time jobs. Like it's hard to get a lot of time. If I can get 30 minutes a day just to practice swing in my living room, I'm doing good. That's a good day. And just kind of realizing that's just where we're at with the time we have. Do what we can, and work on it. Try to enjoy the spring, play, get some good numbers, and accept where we're at, accept the pain. Let's golf.
Right.
Yeah, and that's a good thing too. There, it's not just that we spent the appropriate amount of time trying to develop swing skills, if you will, and change things for the better to get the better results and have the expectations. And we've also changed really a complete entire outlook on how to play the game, right? Like it's a perspective thing as well.
Yeah, it's something we didn't even touch on is the strategy of playing. Getting out of, prior to any lessons, we'd go out. It was, okay, if I'm here, my range is whatever. I'm 145 out. Okay, that's a 9-iron, and that's the only swing thought I had. There was no thought of like, where am I going to bring it in? There's nothing of that. Where's my miss? Where's my safety miss? Like none of that was into play. It was just, okay, 150 yards, that's a 9-iron. Swing, hope it gets up there. And then, our playing lessons we've had over the last, I don't know, we've been doing that about last month and a half or so. The thought processes of, okay, analyze all these different shots we've got. Which one am I going to take? Well, if I'm going to miss it, where's the safe place to miss? Do I want to play air long? Do I need to air short? Am I pushing it right today? So, okay, let's aim left side of the green. Having a better plan. I mean, that alone, even without making as much clean contact as I want, that alone's shaving. And like that was when we were first talking about the evaluation, like the whole side of golf that, I never really thought about is that side. Because I feel like most weekenders, if you haven't been through any lessons or anything, like just most guys don't really think about that. You've got set distances for clubs, and when you're that distance, that's club you hit, period. There is no, options on different types of shot. How do I want to bring it in? Do I run it up? Do I want to land it soft? Like, what's the plan here? And being able to not switch the brain from, okay, I'm in the lab, I'm working on my swing. Now when I'm playing, just get it and then trust yourself to get up and just swing the club and do it. Doesn't work. Try again next. And I struggle with that bad getting out of the development stage. I'll be on the course trying to think like, all right, remember, I got to finish low. And the more I think about it, that's the worse I play. If I can get out of my head, that's when I'll hit the best shots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's only been in the last few weeks that I've realized that, like, at max one swing thought, I mean, this is even though Ryan told me this months ago, like, my brain doesn't get it until I'm out on the course and experience it myself. Yeah, in our lessons, Ryan's been like, just hit the damn ball. And I'm like, oh yeah, right. I don't need to think about dragging the wall, missing the head cover. I don't need to think about the tee drills, the 4 balls. I don't need to think about any of that anymore whenever it's time to just perform. I know how to do it. Just hit the ball.
Yeah, it's so hard to incorporate all that in just an hour on day one. It's hard to literally, truly deliver all of the information that y'all now have, right?
Yeah.
It's part of why we say it takes time, because while we can't say it the right way in day one, I want to say, and look, this is just the start. There's about 90 other things I ain't even talked to you about yet. Dang it.
Right.
There's
just like I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
On lesson 1, like, you don't know what you don't know, and there's so much to it that I didn't know.
Yeah. And that's another thing too, that sometimes it's a back and forth, sometimes it's a season to season thing, but there's a time and a place for the lab where you're developing abilities, you're learning to do things.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, that's why we don't go to the course, because it's like, well, why are you going to go hit the ball on purpose until you figure this out for a while? Well, what's the point? And then, okay, we got through that. Cool. Now we got something different. Now let's go put it in action. But at the action point, I think Cole said the key word is, and both of you might, the whole point is that you got to turn it off and you got to trust. And it takes time to trust, because, and y'all been through this, unless I'm standing there with my eyes watching you from outside, looking at, in, you're not seeing necessarily everything, right? And to build that trust, we got to make sure that everything's lined up properly and that you're committing to it until it happens. And then that's when trust begins. And so that was another part of that process, and sometimes it works right away. And then sometimes it takes half the day to find that, so, and there's a lot to it that's what this is about. We can't give all the information day one. If we could, first of all, everybody would be like, well, it sounds like I'm not going to get good until I'm about 97 and then I'm dead. So what's the point? So, we got to be kind of careful with how we deliver it. But a good point too, Colten, you said, or one of you guys said, the percentage of out, it's great to hit a green. That it is an awesome feeling, right? And the reason it's an awesome feeling is because tour pros, right? We know they're good, but they ain't that good. They're not Sunday afternoon, the last hour of the day. And so I looked up about the middle of the pack this year from 150 yards. Most people would be like, oh, they hit the green every time. No, they do not. The middle of the pack guy is barely at 60%. We give Lucas Damn Glover 10 balls from 150 yards. He's missing the green 4 times. He's on the TV right now. Are you kidding me? Come on now. If he's not hitting 10 in a row, how the heck are we going to do it? So, yeah, it is a good feeling when it does happen, and that's great. And that's part of the building process, is that those are what we call the mini goals. Those little mini goals are what keep us kind of moving towards that bigger goal, and we have to appreciate and celebrate those types of things, because it's not realistic. Back before day one, I would have said if you hit a green, it would have been exciting, but you would have been in a different mindset. Like, damn it, I should be doing that every time I grab my 7-iron.
100%.
It's not realistic.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. I should be doing that every time.
Yeah, not the case. So yeah, these are all huge. These are important things because you're becoming players. Everybody thinks the day that what I'm doing out there in the lab, and I call it the lab because that's what it is. You're inside on purpose, is what I'm doing. That's just the tiny tip of the process. It's the beginning. In the lab, we're trying to help the players understand the swing a little bit better, at least enough to have realistic abilities to go apply it differently and then really start to absorb the game in. And that's where you guys are at right now. But it takes time. It's just so much frustration. And that's where I want to go next. So let's take the evaluation first. Tell me one thing, real, like if you can remember, if you can, it's okay, but real specific from the evaluation lesson itself. One key piece of information you heard on day one that you went, what? I never heard of that before. Colten, what do you think?
Oh, that's a good question.
It's hard to remember back then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Honestly, like I had no idea like what I was doing wrong. All I knew was the ball flight, and so I don't know. Whenever you started instructing me on, how the things that I was doing wrong, like I think all of it was like informational from day one. Like even just the concept of an out to in versus in to out swing, like I didn't even know what that was. Yeah, and I had no idea like how to get into that swing path. So honestly, I think it was all of it because I didn't really know much coming in.
So it was just a lot of information that was new for one, and you hadn't heard. And how long roughly have you been? I mean, even if you hadn't been like an avid golfer, like how long have you been playing the game roughly, or at least been around it?
I mean, 15 years.
Yeah, quite a long
I
time.
mean, in
Isn't
that
it? I mean,
15
it's just.
years, probably played 50 times.
Mm-hmm. And it's just so crazy. It's like, how have you not come across this kind of basic set of information, right? Yeah, it's crazy. I don't get it. And so, same thing, Cole, for you. If you can think of one thing, or if it's the whole thing, that's fine too. But one thing that maybe jumps out at all, if it does.
Well, a couple things. One, when I came in and you looked through my swing, it was kind of a shock of how bad it was, or like how many. I guess I shouldn't say bad, but how many bad habits were in it. Because I come in thinking like, my swing's pretty solid. Like, not a whole lot to change. I just got to figure a few things out. But then secondly, you kind of broke down like the mathematics side of it, of like, okay, different ball flights, like, you're going this degree into out with and I mean, you barely touch the surface of it. I mean, even now, I think I only know very surface level, but kind of going through that, like hitting a draw, in my head was like, all right, I got to really close the face if I'm gonna make this happen. Where like, not really, matter of a few degrees you can draw or hook or put. I mean, it's such a minute change, and how little all that was, and the different swing paths and stuff like that. Just I'd never heard of that. I mean, I started golfing, with my dad and his buddies. I mean, I was probably, I don't know, 6, and from 6 to 15, we golfed pretty regular. I mean, we lived on a golf course for a while, and I'd go out there with my dad and his buddies all the time. And I mean, none of the stuff we've gone over ever come up. It was never talked about. And so just that was kind of what I was referencing when I was like, the side of golf I didn't know existed, because I've been around golf pretty much my whole life. I quit playing for a while, but like my family's always played. I got a cousin that he built golf courses, so like golfing world, I've been around it my whole life, and just how much information there was that, I mean, I'd never even heard of. I would think most of that, you would hear in a clubhouse with guys, but no, I mean, it seems like you said, like the optimal way for a swing, which there's even tour pros that'll do funky stuff, but it works, but that optimal swing, you would think guys that golf a lot, like that'd be a topic of discussion in the clubhouse, but it seems like, 95% of golfers really don't grasp the realities of, the ideal swing, what you want to try to do. So yeah, it was just wild of kind of learning how much much knowledge that isn't out there, and how much kind of fake news, misinformation is out there. It's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, in a lot of ways, we don't set out obviously on purpose to try to, discredit people or anything like that. But, it's important to have proper information. I mean, that's just what it boils down to. And there's also a different level of play that exists amongst all people out there, and where they play and who they play with and how they play the game. So there's a lot of and that's the more important part, is that this whole thing has to be customized to the individual based off what they are, based off what they want to do, based off what they're capable of. And so while I kind of have it's from experience, I have kind of this sort of, okay, here's the guidelines, if you will, of what to do in an evaluation lesson. But honestly, I've pushed that aside almost within 10 minutes of meeting the people, because I start to figure out who they are, and I listen to them, and I soak them in, and I start to go, I know who this person is. Forget about that. We're going to go this way instead. But at the end of the day, I still deliver the custom package. Here's what we got to do to help you basically do what you want to do, be the player you want to be. So then, kind of fast forward to the future now and think of something more recent, if anything, that you would say kind of really jumps out to you as like, okay, if I go back to the player from the past and I'm thinking about this, versus then, wow, that's so completely different.
Man, I mean, everything's different. I mean, it's like golfing's, it's almost like a whole different experience now. Just the mindset we go in with it. I mean, the stats I'm starting to track, it's not all about, when I'm playing, okay, I want to get 3 birdies this round, or, it's the whole mindset of going in, like tracking conversion rates on my scorecard so I can see if I'm improving there. And, rather than being solely score focused, which, don't get me wrong, like I still want to shoot a good score, but getting in the mindset of like, okay, if I'm coming up on a, whatever, I've got a 300-yard par 4, how to attack the hole. Like, okay, well, I'm pretty good at 100 yards out, so let's hit a 5-iron, get it to 100, and then I've put myself in a position of a swing I'm comfortable with, rather than let me grab my driver and just rip it as hard as I can and try to get it up by the green. Like, you know what I mean? It's the game in my head and how I approach it and how I play it now, like everything's completely different. I mean, it's a whole different experience now. And it's honestly made it more addictive to where, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a whole different world now.
And that alone is the best part. If anything, it's at least through the process I've put you through. And I ain't gonna say I'm the best ever. There's players, teachers out there might be better than me. I can admit to that, but we know this. You're wanting to play golf more, you want to get better more, and keep going. And so minimum, I can say we've accomplished that, which is great. And then, when it comes to, again, go back to be a person who's on the outside looking in, who doesn't have this experience, right? If they were even in considering any lessons of any type, right? So they got maybe what exists like you had, and maybe they haven't experienced that yet also, versus maybe the process that I am going through. What would be, here's the big question. What would be the reason not to consider coming to see Ryan down at the pub if you were in their shoes and thinking about what you're trying to get out of the lesson process? What would you think would be a nope, don't?
The reason probably not to is if you don't really want to like put in the work, like say you've got a player that they go out consistently shoot high 80s, every now and then they'll get mid 80s, whatever. They're you can go out on a weekend and shoot in the 80s and have a blast. If you're happy with that, then if you don't want to dedicate all the time it takes of drilling this stuff, going into the lab, and really dedicate your time and work at it, then you can go. Pretty much every club's got a club pro there. You can pay them $50. They can give you a swing tip. You can go out there and do it, and keep playing your game. If you're having fun, and if you're wanting a quick fix of like, just take a couple lessons, see if I can get in the low 80s. Like that's just, and from my experience, and I've only been to lessons with you and one with that other guy. My experience is it's not realistic. Like if you really want to get better, you got to make the decision to really work at it. Yeah. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes before you go play to really see real improvement. I think I've been with you, I think about 4 months now. And, what we do a lesson a week. I practice here at the house almost daily. I do a little bit, at least. Some days I don't, but at least every day I'm swinging my swing trainer a few times, or going out in the yard and pitching it around the front yard, setting up a target, just seeing if I can get close to it, doing something to work on whatever drill we've done. And I've seen improvement. Now, is it, when I started, I would think like, man, 4 months in, I'm going to be shooting low 80s. Absolutely not. But I've seen improvement. I see a lot better ball striking. I've seen better scores, but it's just how much work it is. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. Hey, if you're having fun with your game, then have fun with your game. But if you want to come in and really work at it and, set some goals and really see some good improvement, just notice the work. If you don't want to do that, then don't.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. There's a lot of ways to play the game. And the big part is if it's nothing hurting, there's no reason to really kind of break it down and go through it. I mean, you got to have the pain. You got to have the ouch. This is happening and I got to get it fixed or else I can't live no more. Oh, okay. Well, now we're ready to maybe dive in and figure it out. But you're right. Yeah, you can't really look at this process as beneficial unless you have reached that point, is for sure.
Be willing to commit to the process.
And that's the other thing I would say. So now you move to the point where somebody maybe has realized, well, I'm kind of sick of this. And I guess I'll put in some effort, and I kind of do willingly will be committed to. But then look at the programs and things. Oh, man, am I that committed? When you get the offering of because a lot of them don't have it. A lot of teaching pros don't have a menu. You've seen my menu. I just added the top one. I got 50 lessons, 30, 20, 10, like a whole variety. Now looking back, because it's harder in day one, how would you be able to say to someone else why the menu exists and why it might be worth considering the top options versus the bottom options? What would you say?
Same reason I just said, because like if you want to see real improvement, it takes time. So if you dedicate like, okay, I'm really going to do this, you've got discounts on, with every package going up, you get discounts on the lessons, just if you're going to do it, take the discount and dedicate like, okay, because you figure even 50 lessons, that's 1 year. Okay. In your lifetime of golf, if you dedicate, if nothing else, hey, I'm going to take 1 year and really focus to improve, then, that's the smartest move. I mean, personally, I think when I originally purchased, you didn't have the 50 lesson package. It was the 30. And I'm grateful that I went ahead and bought the 30 because I was like, okay, after our evaluation, I kind of had an understanding of like, this is really a commitment. I'm going to have to really, and thankfully I had Colten I talked to. He had been doing it a couple months already and kind of explained it. So I knew a little bit ahead of time, thankfully, that like, hey, I really need to commit. I don't need to jump on and say, all right, well, let me try 10 and see how that works. Because after 10 lessons, I mean, in reality, I was still just getting started, like really making swing improvements. So I know now, I think I asked you just a couple of weeks ago, like, man, how many lessons do I have left? Because I ain't kept track of them. Because I mean, as soon as we get close, like, I'm going ahead and getting another 50 and lock in another year. Because like, I know where I want to be. And I know it's going to take that long. Like, it's just going to take a long time to get there. Unless miraculously somehow I can start spending 3 hours to 6 hours a day doing this, which ain't going to happen with 3 little kids.
And that's the most important part is that from sitting in my shoes, experiencing this with hundreds and hundreds of other players, it's why we build the program the way we do. We want to honor the fact that if you're willing to commit, great. Let's take 30% off and just say, let's just do it. Whatever. Who cares? Forget about that part of it. But that commitment is so important because now I know I'm working with the player I want to work with really bad, which means I want to work even harder to get you there. And I know I have a time that makes sense, and who knows what it could end up being. That's so much of the fun of that, which is why we try to design it that way. But it's so hard to, again, in day one, to really produce that level of recognizing how that's the case, right? It's
Yeah.
hard to do that in just 1 hour.
Yeah. Well, and the one other guy I went to, I wanted to do an hour, but I think he misheard me, so we ended up doing 30 minutes. And, we went out on the range and he gave me some tips. Well, we're standing there talking and, the time hits 30 minutes and he was like, all right, well, yeah, just work on that. Come see me when you're done. We'll settle up. So he heads off back to the shop and I hit a few more and went back. Whereas, when we started taking lessons, I don't think we've had a 1 hour lesson yet. Because I take them in the evenings. I think I'm usually the last one, but especially our playing lessons now. You're like, hey, if you're willing to hang and I ain't got another lesson, let's do it. You know what I mean? Instead of like, all right, you got 13 minutes left, so let's start wrapping this up. You know what I mean? Where I feel like I don't have a lot of experience with other coaches, but I feel like that's more the norm in the industry, is very hard set times. Whereas I feel like you jump in and take a little more care, and maybe that is because I kind of like showed the initiative of like, all right, I want the 30 because I know I want to get better. I'm really going to commit, and so maybe you're like, hey, this guy's really committed to this, so I'm going to do everything I can to get us there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, 100%. It's on our side on my side of the ball game in my world. I can say it this way. I get somebody that says they're willing to put it all down on the line and look at the next year, then nothing makes me more excited every day to go get to that person's lesson that day, because I know they're in, and I know the potentials, and I can see it way better than you guys can, and this might be a couple of weeks ahead of time, honestly, with this recording. You're definitely on that verge of seeing that real next kind of drop. And probably fairly consistent. It'll come up a little at times, but you're definitely going to start seeing those numbers coming down pretty quick here now that the season's finally here. And that's exciting from our side, because you said one thing key there, which is hard. I've only been here a couple of years. Back in KC, I could set up shop tomorrow and I'd have students all over the place because they all have friends and family that already did this with me. Colten helped you to get to that point. His experience helped give that idea over to you to then take the evaluation and then consider for yourself, what should I do? What would be the best plan of attack here? And I tell everybody, it don't matter to me. It's why all the packages exist. I would rather help people save money over the course of a year if they could do it, and if they can't, that's a whole different ballgame too. And that's fine too. It's just, but it's based off that. It's the time. I just had a call literally a couple days ago from a young man that I first started with him. Gosh, this would have been 22 years ago. And he's a grown man now. He was just a kid back then, high schooler. And we went through high school, college golf. He went out, played professionally, all kinds of stuff for years and years and years and years. And now he's working man, and he plays not near as much, but now his work settled a little. And he told me the other day, and I tell you what, I about jumped out my seat. I was so excited. He said, I want to win the Arizona Amateur next year. And I went, hot damn, let's do it. I was like, yeah. And so, like, with him, there's not a whole lot of teaching going on, really. With him at this stage, it's more, he's going to go do some things. I gave him some, projects to work on a little bit to measure it all up a little. And then he'll kind of give me the numbers and I'll look at them and I'll just kind of consult him, is what it really is. He kind of knows what to do. He just may need a nudge in the right direction of how to go about the right direction to get there. But that's the exciting part. I don't want to spend 30 minutes with someone if I know we need an hour and a half. And so I design the program so that if that's necessary and capable at the same time, I'd say most of the time it is. I try to give at least about a 2-hour window to dang near everybody for every lesson. We may not use it all, and not every time, sometimes an hour and a half, but that's just another part of the entire focus of this program is so that, yes, we can be as available and attentive and focused on getting the job done every single time.
Mm-hmm.
No fail whatsoever. And that's not easy to do. I'm going to tell you from experience, it's very difficult. But I tell you what, the more students that are committed that maybe hear you and Colten had to run off for a work thing, by the way, everybody, that hear you guys talking, maybe that helps them get that perspective. That's kind of what today was really kind of all about, was maybe to just get a little more insight, not me just flapping away on the tube, because everybody already seen that enough. They're like, get that guy off the tube. But, to have a better feel and understanding for how it works, because it's hard, and there's so much we've left out even in just this little discussion. We're almost an hour in, dang it, so we'll close it up. But that was kind of the whole kind of idea, to have this little chat, and maybe it turns into something else. We can just come on and talk about golf in general in the future. But I hope that gives people a better feel, especially from local versus not local. That always seems to matter. But that's the thing. So if you could kind of, we got a couple minutes, and then we'll close up. If you could kind of, I don't know, pick like either your favorite thing or one key thing, I don't know, anything that you would say, here's the most important thing I would want somebody to know, hands down, period, the end, whatever, what would it be?
I would think if you're out there and you're playing golf and you're trying to improve, giving yourself grace. Don't expect yourself to perform like a tour pro or even better than a tour pro. You know what I mean? Because like you talking about the 150-yard shot. Prior to any of this, hit it and I'm 20 yards right of the green. Well, I was pissed when, like, why? Like, I've never taken a lesson. Like, that's your skill set. That's really, you advance the ball up and you're ready, close enough to pitch. I should have been happy, but just giving yourself the grace and realize that golf's really hard. And the highlights you watch on TV, that's not even realistic for the pros. I mean, you watch the top 10 in the world and they're still making mistakes. I think Brooks Koepka is the one who said, golf's, it's a game of mistakes. You're out there playing 18 holes where every shot I want to get it in the hole. And guess what? I don't get it in the hole, but one shot each time. So it's a game of a bunch of mistakes, and, give yourself grace. We're not pros. We're learning. Understand where you're at.
Yeah. Perception of the game is terrible. It's and it's driven by the media who makes money off of the game. That's why it is that way. People see the last hour on Sunday for the most part, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And so all they can think of that the game of golf should be is what it should look like when that fella's about to take home the trophy and the purse. And they don't watch him 3 weeks later when he can't even make the cut. So It was the Billy Horschel interview from last week. Comes off the course. He did everything he could keep from cursing at the lady interviewing him. He was so mad about how he didn't know where the ball was going.
Yeah, he said, I'm just trying to get back to the house as fast as possible right now.
I got to get out of here. I may not pick up a golf stick ever again. That's how he felt that day. And he's one of the best dang tour pros on the face of the earth right now. So, it's perception has got to change, and it's got to be realistic, and it's got to be more in tune. And I always try to explain it this way, because some people are like, well, that sounds like not even trying. No, we still have goals, but let's make them realistic and go from one goal to maybe another goal and then another goal. And then by the time we get to, it's Reagan the other day saying he wants to win the Arizona Open. Well, he's been working technically for 20 some years on his game. So that's a realistic goal for him. When he says it, first of all, I know he's going to put in the time. I know he's going to do whatever it takes to try to get there without fail. And if it takes more time, he's going to find a way to do even more time, and he's going to get all the answers he needs, and he's going to go work at it. So I know that part's already there. He's proven that part. The second part is he's played well enough for a number of years that I know it's attainable for him. So that's why I don't say, hey, no, you can't. That's silly. You can't be talking like that. No, he can be. Now, the guy coming in off the street that shoots like 78 every day at his course with his 3 buddies drinking beers on the weekends, hey, congratulations. You're playing some good golf, and that's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
But that ain't going to be winning no state am.
No.
And so that guy comes in and says, I want to win the state am. I'm like, well, how's the next 10 years, fella? And he's going to look at me like, what? You crazy? I'm like, no, that's realistic. So it's the realistic viewpoint, because it also, to me, and maybe you can say this or can't, to me, at least, it feels like if we can get realistic about it, it also lifts burdens.
Oh, yeah.
All the burdens just go away.
Well, yeah, you find yourself, or at least for me, find yourself on the course not getting nearly as frustrated with myself anymore, just because, yeah, I've got a realistic idea of like, hey, this is where I'm at. Like, I've been in the development stage really for 4 months. Like, I'm scratching the surface.
Yeah.
I hit some great shots. Awesome. I'm pumped. But I can't go into it thinking every hole, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm not going to hit a green in regulation. I mean, right now, even 50% of the time, I got 50% green in regulation. Like, that's a round of a lifetime for me. And, whereas just 5 months ago before starting lessons, that's what I expected every hole. So, yeah, it definitely takes a burden off and relaxes you a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the good part about that is remove the burden. Now look at we can make the measure. Like we're going about a month away from getting some measurements that make more sense, and maybe it's 30%, right? Well, then the next goal is okay, 40%, not jump up to 70.
Yep.
Let's see in another month if we can get just 40% and then 50%. And just gradually start to increase. It's not about not having goals, because a lot of people say these guys aren't even trying hard. No, that's a bunch of BS. It's just realistically resetting the goal so that it's not so unattainable that it's like, I'm never going to be able to accomplish this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Well, I'm going to let you guys go. Colten had to go off, like I said, so we'll talk to him the next time. Hopefully we'll do this again soon, and we'll have the fellas back on. But I appreciate it. I hope somebody will stick around long enough. It's been an hour, so that's plenty of time. And get something out of this. That's the most important part. And if y'all have questions, everything, the Twitter, the Facebook, the Instagram, the email, the website, you can call the golf club if you want to, whatever. Reach out, go leave some comments, like, subscribe, share, like always. These guys have been through it. They're going to go through it more, and we'll catch up with them again. Maybe it'll be another 3 months when we do this again, and we'll see where they're at. Maybe that'll be a fun thing to follow. But if anything, y'all got questions, don't hesitate. And I know Cole and Colten well enough to know that even if it was a quick phone call, like we're probably not going to give up an hour of talking, but maybe if y'all just want to talk to them directly without me in the picture, they might be willing to have a little quick chit chat with you and tell you even more. And if so, y'all reach out and ask me, and I'll ask them, and I'll see if I can get you in touch with these fellas, and they can talk to you even more about what this is like on their end and how it's been. But for now, Cole, appreciate it. Thank you very much. Go enjoy the rest of your Saturday here. Play some golf, hopefully. And but for now, this is No BS Golf. Ryan Carpenter, P45 Knuckle Down Golf. We'll talk to y'all later. Take care.
See you later.